everyone. Welcome to the panel on Adblocking, the next big one in your online journey. My name is Chen. I'm a correspondent for Forbes magazine. Today, I have the pleasure to be here with Faida, co-founder and CEO of I/O, the German company behind the world's most popular ad blocking software, Adblockplus. So, Theo, welcome. Let me start the conversation by asking you what it is about online ads that was so annoying that you and your partner decided to set up your own company.
Maybe, first of all, I'm not sure if everybody knows what an ad blocker is. So it's basically a free tool that you can install within just a few seconds on your desktop browser or on your mobile device, and then you can basically browse the web without any annoying ads. So annoying pre-roll video ads, annoying banner ads, all of those will be gone if you install an ad blocker. And it really started off as a non-profit open source hobby project started by my co-founder, Vladimir. My background is actually very different. I used to work in online advertising, and when we met, we really came from completely different sides, but still we shared the same vision. And we decided to team up and create a company with a goal to, on the one hand, empower users so that they will have control over their browsing experience, but on the other hand, work with publishers on alternative, more sustainable monetization methods that don't rely on aggressive advertising, because we've been seeing that this model just doesn't work in the long run.
Okay, then tell me, how aggressive had online ad become? What is the worst type of ad you ever seen?
Well, I think there are many reasons why people install ad blockers. So most importantly, many of the ads have just become incredibly annoying. So they are blinking banner ads, overlay ads, pop-ups, video ads that autoplay, video ads that you can't skip. But also more and more people are becoming concerned about their privacy. They don't want advertising companies to be able to track them across the web, follow them around on every website that they visit. And also another trend which is really increasing also as a result of programmatic advertising is what's called malvertising. So basically every ad that you see on a website, usually in the background there are sometimes hundreds of calls made to different servers, and just one server has to be compromised, and then ads can be used to spread malicious code. So actually more and more people use ad blockers also as a security tool, because the only way to be really safe is by blocking those malicious ads.
You mean just by clicking on an ad, your computer or your device can be compromised?
There have also been examples of ads that spread malware even if you don't interact with the ad at all. Just by visiting a certain website, you might be at risk if the ad is loaded from a compromised ad server.
So why do you think advertisers become so aggressive?
I think the root cause really is that on the internet there is an oversupply of ad impressions. So as an advertiser, you can basically buy an unlimited amount of ad impressions. And that's just basic economics. If there's no scarcity, then prices are decreasing. So what we've seen is that for the last couple of years, it's really a race to the bottom. The prices for advertising is decreasing. So naturally, websites feel forced to compensate those decreasing revenues by allowing more and more aggressive ads on their sites. So this has created this vicious cycle in which ads are becoming more and more aggressive, and at the same time less and less valuable for publishers. Okay.
I understand there are about 100 people online using ad blocking software. And so are anyone paying for it? Are they all free?
So Adblockplus is still open source and 100% free. So as a user, you can install it within just a few seconds. It's available for desktop and for mobile devices. And then you can surf the web without any annoying ads, no pre-roll video ads, no blinking banner ads.
Right. But I have to admit I'm confused. Because on the one hand, your company seems to be in the business of blocking annoying ads. But on the other hand, you are working with advertisers to come up with user-friendly ads. So what it is you are actually doing? How do you make money?
So we talked about the many reasons why people install ad blockers. And I think it is important that users protect themselves, but at the same time, of course, advertising needs to work so that there can be free content on the internet. So what we found out is that almost everybody who installs an ad blocker agrees that not all ads are bad and that some ads are necessary. So that's why we started a program called Acceptable Ads, which means publishers and ad networks can reach those users that previously have been lost due to too much and too aggressive advertising by showing alternative, less intrusive ads to those users that they won't mind seeing. So this really creates a win-win scenario in which users get a much cleaner, faster, and less annoying user experience. At the same time, websites have a way to monetize this audience as well, and we've been able to prove that fewer but more high-quality ads actually can provide more sustainable revenues in the long run. And that is also our business model, because our partners can measure exactly how much they have generated in incremental revenues as a result of working with us. And our business model is based on a revenue share on those incremental revenues.
Okay, so do users need to pay?
For the users, it's completely free, and large companies, large publishers, large ad networks that take part in our Acceptable Ads program, they are required to pay a fee for the certification to become part of the program.
But why do advertisers would like to work with you? What do they want to work?
I think what more and more advertisers are understanding now is that the people who block ads or install ad blockers, they're not against advertising per se, but those are usually very sophisticated people, more tech-savvy users. So those users can be reached, but they have to be reached in a different way. Just traditional aggressive banner ads doesn't work with this kind of audience. In order to reach this more sophisticated audience, you have to address those users on their own terms, and we can help them to do that.
Okay, and what's your criteria for a user-friendly ad?
So the key for our Acceptable Ads program is obviously we have to find the right balance between a great user experience on the one hand and sufficient monetization opportunities for publishers on the other hand. Because what's really important here is that consumers are always in full control of that. We're never forcing any ad on any user. So as a user of Adblockplus, you can always decide to opt out if you decide that those ads don't provide a good experience for you. So finding that balance really is key here. And we've just recently established an independent committee that is setting the standards for acceptable advertising. And the current key criteria are related to size restrictions, placement restrictions. Ads have to be clearly labeled as advertising. And then there are also animation restrictions, because we found out that users don't like to be distracted from what they actually want to do on that website.
But can you give me an example how a friendly ad would look like?
So a friendly ad or an acceptable ad would only occupy a certain percentage of your screen, so that not too much of the available space is taken up by that ad. It's also not placed right within an article. It's not obscuring your reading flow. It is only animated if you choose to interact with that ad, and it's also transparently labeled as advertising, which is particularly important for native advertising, for example, that users can always differentiate between organic content and sponsored content.
So the user can tell from the label of an ad.
Yeah, so one of the key criteria for acceptable ads is actually that those ads are transparently labeled as advertising, so that you as a user always know exactly what is sponsored content and what is just regular content of that website.
But how accurate is your software? Is there any risk at all of blocking a website in the process of using it?
So the beauty of Adblockplus really is that there is no fancy artificial intelligence in the background that distinguishes between advertising and regular content. It's really curated by people. So we greatly benefit from the fact that Adblockplus is open source, and we're working with open source communities across the globe who help us to have the right filter lists in place. So actually, the backbone of Adblockplus and also other ad blockers really is the filter lists that are created by the open source community. So there are thousands of people who regularly send issue reports, and there are hundreds of volunteers worldwide who create filter lists that make Adblockplus work seamless, so that all the ads can be blocked, but websites don't break. So there are no white spaces, and website work seamless even after the ads have been stripped out.
Right. So tell me, how do your company work with the volunteers, right? This will be all volunteers. They contribute to the development of your software.
Yeah, so the software really needs to know what kind of elements it's supposed to block. And as you can imagine, you need to have different filters across the globe. So we have volunteers everywhere, which means that our software can work great no matter if you're in Asia, South America. There are local contributors that help to curate the filter list that make sure that ad blocking works well both on desktop and on mobile.
Right. By now, most people knows Google is about to add an ad blocking filter within the Chrome browsers. In part, the company doing that to drive ad blockers like you out of business. So Google can keep most of the annoying ads that are vital to its business. So what's your response to Google's move?
I think in general it's no surprise that more and more companies are now looking into the ad blocking space, because ad blocking has been such a popular product and for many years now. But it's also not necessarily anything new. So for years now, all the major browsers already come with pop-up blockers pre-installed, which is basically also a selective ad blocker. The worst type of ads are already blocked by default in most of the browsers. I think this is not necessarily anything that impacts Adblockplus, because there is a subset of users who really want to take control over their ad experience, who want to decide for themselves what kind of ads are they willing to accept, what kind of ads do they want to block. And the built-in ad blockers, they don't go far enough. So Adblockplus can do much more than any ad blocker that is by default integrated, and it can provide much more customization options to users, and it also can go beyond just blocking of ads. We were talking about issues like privacy before. So as an example, if you don't want to be tracked across the web by advertising companies, you can configure your privacy settings very easily with tools like Adblockplus. But what I think is also important here is that ad blocking is now really evolving from just protesting the problem to actually fixing it. So it's not enough to just say, ads are annoying and we don't agree with them. It's also important that at the same time we make sure that this can help to generate a more sustainable ecosystem in which also publishers really have a way to monetize their audience in a more user-friendly way. And one way to achieve that is by creating a new advertising ecosystem, which we're doing with the acceptable ads program, but we also believe that ads are only part of the answer, because there are some users who just don't want to see any ads. So what we are launching very soon is a completely new product that will be the very first payment system for content on the web that automatically works everywhere without any friction for the user. So you as a user, you have full choice over how you want to compensate content creators. And if you don't want to see any ads, you can decide to instead pay a monthly fee. And then this money is automatically distributed to all the websites you have engaged with based on a very smart algorithm that automatically distributes your funds to the websites you have engaged with. So what this creates is really an alternative how publishers can monetize without having to create their own paywalls, because that only works for very few sites on the web, and without relying on advertising, which is not going to work in the long run because of the issues we were talking about before, that prices are decreasing and ads are becoming more and more aggressive.
Yeah. Can you maybe give me some background about your co-founder? I understand he is the brand behind the software.
Yeah, he really created Adblockplus in 2006 already, really just as a hobby project. And we started IO, the company that now runs Adblockplus, as well as the acceptable ads program, and Flatter, the payment system I just mentioned. And he is still on board as a developer. He started off as the co-founder and CTO of the company. He since then has decided to be a developer because he didn't like the management side of the business. So he's still on board. He is still developing Adblockplus, but the CTO position now has been taken over by somebody else.
Right. Yeah, one thing, something I also want to ask you about YouTube. YouTube and Facebook, they are taking different approach to ad blocking. YouTube, it announced that it's going to discontinue the 30-second ads, right? Automatic playing with the video. But Facebook seems to be going in the opposite direction. What do you make of it?
I think there's always a balancing act that needs to be made between monetization and creating a great user experience. And I think all the companies are struggling to find that perfect balance. But I think what's also interesting to see is that more and more advertisers now are realizing that they can't annoy anybody into liking their brand or buying their product. And more advertisers are now investing more into creating a dialogue with their customers instead of trying to just force ads on those users that they clearly dislike.
Yeah, I'm afraid our time is up. Thank you, Theo, and thank you to everyone in the audience.